Okay, class, so now that we have our first page ready to be laid out, what we want to do is we want to place one of our graphics, such as a logo. But we can't just go to File and Place. Instead, what we're going to have to do is create kind of a nice big container for our logo to go in. You may recall you made a sailing boat logo, okay? So it looks like that's about as big as we're going to need. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to place our logo, which I created as an EPS file, into this container. Okay, so I'll choose Sailing with Blend. You can see it's an EPS, and I'll say OK to that. All right, and there is my logo. Now it's a little too big for this layout, and I want it to fit right in this little area here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my percentage scale here to change the size of it. Okay, while it's selected, I'm just going to start reducing the size until the width over here says 3.4 inches. Okay, I've already made some of these measurements ahead of time. Okay, so there we go. That's about right, 3.4. Now I can grab it with the selection tool and move it into place. Okay, that looks just about right. I can also use the arrows to nudge it over so that the type is centered between these purple lines. Okay, now another thing that I'd like to do, okay, is I'd like to put in a blue rectangle. Okay, so I'll grab the rectangle tool here, and I want it to be blue, so I'm going to click over here on this color picker, and I could do it that way. I could also choose from the swatches, which is I think what I'm going to do in this case. Okay, so I'll choose blue, and you saw over here that it changed to a blue color. Okay, that's a blue that's already pre-set up, and it suits me well for this purpose. Now, be a little careful when you draw this, okay, because you're going to start out here on this line, this guide, this cyan colored guide where you make the fold, okay, and you're going to drag out here to the bleed area, which is the red line. Okay, notice that it's going off the page. Okay, and so that's something that that is okay. That's exactly what we want. That's called a bleed. Okay. Also, another thing that we want to do is we don't want there to be any line on this, so we're going to come over here and we're going to choose no stroke. Okay, for that box, okay, that rectangle. And another thing we want to do is change the size of it. Okay, so I can just drag it to be about 3.5 inches. There we go. I think 3.58, about 3.6 is just fine. Okay, and I'll go ahead and I'll select this graphic and I'll pull it down just a little bit. Okay, so that's where we have the front outer panel of our brochure. So if this was, let's say, in some kind of a let's say thing for tourist brochures and so forth, they would see the Bishop Point part sticking out. Okay, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in another panel. Okay, because I want another panel over here. So I'm going to while this is copied, or while that's selected, or if you don't have it selected, you know, let's say it's like this, just grab it, select it, and choose Control-C on your keyboard, or choose Copy, okay, from the Edit menu. You could choose Copy that way as well. All right, and let's go ahead and choose Control-V or Paste, okay, and we're going to move that out to here, okay, that copy. And now I'd like to drag that down to the other bleed mark. Okay, so this is shaping up pretty well. All right, and so what I'd like to do now is go grab some type. Okay, so I'm going to go back to to Microsoft Word, and I'm going to copy some of my type. Okay, I'll go back to InDesign. I'll come over to here, and I need to create a box for my text to fit in. Okay, so I'll just go over here, having grabbed the text tool. There's my text box. I'll click in there. I hit Control V. Okay, and it pasted my text, but it didn't preserve it. That's not a big deal. It's easy for us to go ahead and change the type. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the font that I'm using is called French Script. Okay, and I know that it's 48 point. Okay, and also the color of it is yellow. Okay, so I could use the color picker over here, or I could come over here to the swatches and choose yellow. Okay, there we go. We want the color of the type to be yellow, not an outline. Okay, there we go. Alright, we want there to be no line, right? Okay. Alright, we have to specify that we don't, right now there's a little line around that. Okay, there we go. So now we're at least at a point where we don't have a line on it. Okay, and let's go ahead and go back to our swatches and choose our yellow color. Okay, well, it's still thinking that we want to change the color of the line. That's not quite what we want, and you know, you may have to work back and forth a little bit on this. There we go. Okay, now we have the yellow that we want. All right, now truthfully, what I would do once I get this type all fixed up with the right formatting and so forth, I'm not going through that process to change the type every single time. Okay, instead I'm going to now copy this type so that it has the attributes. Okay, I'm going to Control C, or I'm going to use Edit Copy, and now any other type that I have, when I put in a text box, is going to have that attribute. So I can grab the Type tool here, okay, and I can draw another text box. Okay, I don't really need it that big, so I'm going to say undo to that. Okay, instead I'm going to grab it and I'm going to draw my text box like that. And I think that should do the job. And what I want is I'm going to go ahead and put that in, okay? And if I'm pretty sure that my type is approved, I can type it in again, but you have to be really careful. So step back in time to a place of sea captains and sea fun. Okay? Alright, that's exactly the type that we want. Okay? Now what we can do is we can go back to Word, and let's get this other type because there's a lot of it. Okay? And there we go. This is exactly the type that we want. Okay, so we'll copy all of this. Alright, we'll go back to InDesign, and we're going to create another text box. Okay, about like so, and we'll paste. Okay, and again, we're going to have to reformat this type. Okay, so right now we could make that type blue. Okay, there we go. We want it to be 48 point. All right. We want it to be the right font, okay, which is our French script, okay, or if you don't have French script, it's not a big deal. Use any font that works, okay. We're going to center it, okay, close to the interstate but feels a world away. Well, we're missing a little bit of our type, aren't we? Right? So we have to drag this down just a little. It's not a big deal, okay? So now what we'd like to do is make sure that we have sense breaks that make sense, okay? We don't want this interstate comma but there. So let's make it but feels like that a world away, because the term is a world away. That's exactly what we want, okay? Now let's go back and get the rest of our type, okay? Which is, please contact the Chamber of Commerce for more information. Whoops, there we go. The scrolling's going a little crazy on me. All right, and there's our type. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'll go back to InDesign. I'm going to make another text box, okay, like so. I'm going to paste it in, okay. I'm going to select the text. I'm going to change it to French script, okay. I'm going to center it. I'm going to change the color to blue, okay, the blue that I want. All right, and I'm going to do something a little bit different with this type, okay. Not only am I going to make it a little bigger, okay, I'm going to make it 30 point, okay. There we go. There's our 30-point type. I'm also going to tighten up the spacing between lines, which is called the leading, okay? And so I'm going to use this. You can see that that makes it greater or lesser depending on what I want, but I think setting this type 30, what's called 30 on 24. That means a 30-point size with the 24-point space in between looks pretty good. Okay, and that's exactly what I want. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a little quick housekeeping there and drag that up so that I have room for the next thing that I want to put in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our rectangle frame, okay, and I'm going to draw it here in the bottom because we're going to put a QR code in. Okay, so let's go to Object, Generate QR code, okay, and we can just put in, for example, the web address, okay, such as www.bishoppoint, and we'll say okay to that. All right, and there's our QR code. So that's the front of our brochure, if you will. Okay, so next, what we're going to be working on is the inside, okay, the inside spread of the brochure, okay?